This is UW Wrestling Talk, coming off of the Royal Rumble pay-per-view of 2013, first pay-per-view of the year 2013, um, and it had a rather interesting ending. Of course, if you watched or heard, um, but it wasn't quite as good of a pay-per-view, I think, as some people may have jumped to thinking. Not quite as complete of a pay-per-view top to bottom as I think some people may give it credit for. Um, Personally, as I've been continuing to say, um, this was another show where The Rock and CM Punk were the saving grace of the show, as has kind of been the case lately on Monday Night Raws the past few weeks. Um, and just for the sake of just for I'm going to go through this pay-per-view kind of in reverse order here. Um, as far as matches go, I mean, The Rock and CM Punk, they had, a great match. Um, it had a nice blend of brawling in there. Um, it had a rather interesting spot, particularly to me, that seemed to be unintentional, where The Rock had CM Punk on the announce table, who was going to rock bottom him through the announce table, and before he picked him up, it just abruptly collapsed, and that was quite interesting, whether planned or not. That was an interesting visual. It just kind of came out of nowhere.
Oh my God!
That was interesting, whether intended or not. Um, and it was, there's some good technical work between the two in there as well. I mean, that's, with CM Punk, that's not a surprise, but he worked. The Rock worked well with him. Um, and if you saw it, there was a point in time where in the where the lights went off again in the arena, and again, this goes back to that thing. It's a little weird how they do that. I mean, you just gotta wonder, do they have like a walkie-talkie where some guy is waiting by the arena lights, and you know does Dean Ambrose send him a message? All right, turn the lights off, Jack. I mean, it's a little strange, but to me, how they do that. But the logic behind it. But a lot of people don't think of that part of it. Uh, Lights went off. This time they stayed off for a while, um, so that the Shield were not visible. They beat up on the Rock. As he was getting beat up on and powerbombed through the announce table, you could hear Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler, and JBL, um, you know, pointing out that it's the Shield attacking them. Um, and it was interesting too, because there was like some flashes of people trying to take pictures of this, so that made it interesting as well. You know, you get very quick glimpses of light in there. Um, but anyhow, so essentially, you know, The Rock got dragged back into the ring then when the lights came back on, as the Shield were nowhere to be found, and CM Punk dragged him into the ring, pinned him 1, 2, 3, and it appeared he was gonna walk out once again, WWE Champion. However, just a minute later, Vince McMahon comes out, um, and he basically he says, how the Shield, he knows the Shield attacked The Rock, and that Vince McMahon is left with no choice but to strip him of the title. But The Rock intervenes as he's laying in a security barricade. He tells Vince, no, this isn't how it's gonna end. He will take it from CM Punk rather than Vince taking it from him. He ordered Vince to restart the match, and surely enough, Vince did. And a couple moments later, The Rock nailed the people's elbow on CM Punk and picked up the victory. Um, it was an interesting ending, and it was great stuff. That's what I'm talking about. It was great stuff. I mean, unpredictable. Good. I was happy with it across the board. For a second there, we thought, looks like CM Punk's gonna walk out champion, but there was that unpredictable storyline twist there. So, and it made for an interesting visual then. Rock walking out WWE champion, as I figured he would. Um, so that was cool. It's like he didn't miss a beat. He didn't jump around the ring, like a three or like a little kid who never scored a goal in soccer before when they score their first goal, in the Pee Wee leagues. Um, Unlike a guy like John Cena, who 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 won the Royal Rumble. Um, Now, see, him winning the Royal Rumble was, to me, it was like an automatic buzzkill on The Rock becoming WWE champion before the match even happened. I was pretty sure that they were going to have The Rock win the title here. But I wasn't nearly as sure that that Cena was going to walk out the Royal Rumble victor. And now he's going to face, likely, this is the most likely scenario now, that he's going to rematch The Rock at WrestleMania one-on-one and take the title from him. And this is a big problem to me. That's one issue. People say, oh, well, they did such a good buy rate last year, so why not do it again? Well, but that's not the point here, because the content is going to suffer as a result. If hypothetically the NFL was scripted like the WWE, hypothetically, and there's just the two teams in the Super Bowl one year, they faced each other last year, the other team won, but this time that that the other team's going to win. If you know who's going to win the Super Bowl, if it was hypothetically scripted, would you be as interested in it? So that's the point I want to make there. It definitely creates a buzzkill on that match. Certainly, if that's what happens. Personally, I think their only savior there is to make it a triple threat match. I hope if they have CM Punk make a get a rematch clause, and they make it a triple threat match. Because not only do I think CM Punk should be in that final WrestleMania main event match at the conclusion of WrestleMania, but it's too predictable that Cena would beat The Rock at WrestleMania, walk out with the title. Because we all know The Rock will, after WrestleMania, he'll be away for some time again. So it just, The Rock is going to lose the championship then if he doesn't at Elimination Chamber. And I think WWE's intent, I see where they're going with this, and I'm not liking it. I'm pretty sure The Rock will walk out champion at the Elimination Chamber, and then lose it at WrestleMania. But now, if they make it a triple threat match, if they maybe insert CM Punk in there, like I was saying, then you at least throw in an element of does CM Punk walk out champion, or will John Cena walk out champion? So you throw in an interesting dynamic there. That's what I think they should do. And what I was calling for before any of this was, have The Rock win the Royal Rumble. Or, I'm sorry, have Ryback win the Royal Rumble and face... excuse me there. Face The Rock at WrestleMania with CM Punk using a rematch clause. That's what I I say that's what they do, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen now. It looked like it almost, could have happened. Um, the final two, if you didn't watch the pay-per-view, if you didn't hear, the final two guys in the Royal Rumble match were Ryback and John Cena. And I was thinking at that point when it came down to those two guys, I was thinking, well, here you go. A future, the future right there. Um, future face of the company, not the face of the company, but a future major player here in the company, standing across from John Cena, who has been like the face of the company, but essentially he's represented what is, a 7 to 8 year period um, of a decline, of a steady decline of the company essentially, and it's you have him standing on one side, and then you have a future main event guy, obviously, who we don't know what the limitation is on him yet. And it was a shame that to me, that they had John Cena win. Ryback had more to gain. WWE had more to gain with this. If all they're concerned about is a pay-per-view buy rate, and they figured, oh, let's have Cena win so we can boost that pay-per-view buy rate at WrestleMania. Then that'll be WWE's problem in the future. When if they continue to have that mentality, in the long run, it's going to hurt them. John Cena's not going to be around forever. They got to slowly get rid of this mentality that John Cena, we build the company around that guy. They got to slowly get rid of that mentality and slowly bring in a new the mentality where there's a wider array of main event guys who are on more of an even playing field. Not this, John Cena, king of the WWE mountain, where no one can really beat him clean one-on-one unless it's The Rock at WrestleMania one year. They got to get rid of that mentality, and they got to do it. They got to start doing that soon. Because they continue, it's things like this where I just, I hold my head. They continue to procrastinate building stars that they need to build. It looks like, that's getting pushed back further and further in the year, as the main event of WrestleMania now, once again, will more likely feature The Rock and John Cena, and perhaps not even CM Punk, who I think this year more than deservingly, he more than deserves to be in that main event spot in the last match. Especially when John Cena is, he's still going to be a baby face, for the foreseeable future. Rock is obviously, etched in stone as a baby face for life. You need a heel dynamic in there, I think, this time around. You can't just have, you can't have another WrestleMania, I think, where, it's babyface against babyface that some people's, chant sucks anyways. So there's a lot to be addressed there. And we'll wait and see. But for right now, it is not looking good, in my opinion, as it appears we're going to have a predictable John Cena victory over The Rock at WrestleMania 29. Not looking good to me. So anyways, there were some interesting highlights, though, in the Royal Rumble match. Chris Jericho returned. I think we will likely see him revive his feud with Dolph Ziggler and perhaps get back his win at WrestleMania. I think it might lead to that. Some interesting stuff. Daniel Bryan eliminated Kane, and then Daniel Bryan was thrown out onto Kane before Kane walked off. King caught him as if, you know, he was holding a woman, you know, as if a woman jumped up into his arms and wanted to make out with him. But, you know, it was it was an interesting vision there, but, you know, Kane had a chance to take him back to the ring and let him go on, but he, of course, he didn't do that. Kofi Kingston at one point was thrown out of the ring onto Tensai, who was already eliminated, and he was on his back, and he made his way to the announce table. He was kind of like trapped on a little island there. He took JBL's, you know, office chair, and whatever you want to call it, and you know, kind of bounced on it a little bit to make his way back to the ring. That was a little interesting too. Then he got eliminated not too long after that, anyways. Goldust was a surprise entrant. That was pretty much all of the relevant things in that. Again, unfortunate. I would have liked to see Ryback win it, but again, WWE continues to procrastinate having, you know, worthy stars win such a match at this event. So that's their problem. Going down the card a little bit, there wasn't much else. There was Team Hell No, you know, decent match against the Rhodes Scholars. Victory for Team Hell No, of course. That wasn't surprising. And then there was the pre-show was the United States Championship match. I was a little frustrated. I would have liked to have seen that. I didn't know it was going to be pre-show. I thought it was going to be on the, you know, I didn't hear that it was going to be pre-show. I just heard it was going to be part of the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. So I didn't see that, but, you know, it was predictable that Cesaro was going to win. And you know, again, this not using the Miz very well. So they got to figure out. They got to get him up more in the main event picture. I think he has potential. We at least got to see what he's got. I'm not saying, you know, he's a future Hall of Famer, you know, but what I am saying is that he need, you know, under this circumstance, I think he deserves a shot to see what he's got in the main event picture as in his new babyface role. And other than that, we had the World Heavyweight Championship match. Last man standing, Big Show against Alberto Del Rio. It was to me it was a silly match. I mean, it had an interesting spot up on the stage. Big Show chokeslammed. You know, he threw Del Rio into a table from. They're standing on like a, you know, a diagonal light rafters. So that was an interesting. Oh my God! That was an interesting sight there, but of course Del Rio gets up at 9, and he went on to win the match. He put the cross arm breaker on Big Show in the ring, and Big Show's feet were near the ropes, and Ricardo Rodriguez duct tape. It seemed like he used an entire roll of duct tape to tape Big Show's feet to the ropes, and Big Show couldn't get up from that. You know, this is just silly. I mean, in my opinion, that sucked. This was just, to me, it was stupid. Here's a guy who's supposed to be the world heavyweight champion. He's supposed to be a baby face, and they can't even have him, you know, win back-to-back last man standing matches in, you know, a fashion that's not cheap. I'm not, the first one, that wasn't very cheap. I just don't agree that he's in that position in the first place. This time he gets a cheap. Ricardo Rodriguez has to tape his feet to the rope. That's cowardly, and that's, to me, that's not the kind of babyface that should be your World Heavyweight Champion on Friday Night SmackDown. So this whole thing was a mess, and what was worse is that afterwards, I was waiting for Dolph Ziggler to come down and cash in, and of course that didn't happen. But what did happen was, immediately following that, they had him back. They were showing him backstage in a backstage interview, talking, and it was really silly, saying how he's going to be the #1 spot in the Royal Rumble, and then he's going to. So it's like WWE's trying to, make reason for, make an excuse for, Dolph Ziggler not to cash in. It's effective. It's essentially what they're doing here. They're dodging, a logical opportunity for him to cash in, and it was silly and it made no sense. You have to think. If I were a WWE superstar, if you were a WWE superstar, you had Money in the Bank briefcase. There's a guy standing in the ring after a last man standing match, right there in the ring. Wouldn't you run down in the ring, nail him with that, that briefcase, do whatever, cash in, boom, you're World Heavyweight Champion. Are you kidding me? And they don't think of this. Yeah, I mean, come on. Somebody does owe us an explanation, as the great Chevy Chase, Clark Griswold would say, National Lampoon's Vacation. So again, this pay-per-view, it was only good at the end. I mean, you had a great end. I mean, hats off to CM Punk and The Rock. I mean, they put on a great match, and it'll be interesting to see from their end what goes down on Raw in the next, in the coming weeks. And again, coming off one of the worst worst promos in Raw history, John Cena, with his silly Call of Duty references and innuendo yoga position references. And then guess what? He's the guy that goes on and wins the Royal Rumble. Del Rio walking out champion, no cash in when easily there could have and should have been, when Del Rio is not proving anything, as he never has. There's some things that hurt this pay-per-view, unfortunately. But it'll be interesting to see Rock as WWE champion. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that in the build-up to WrestleMania, they somehow make it a triple threat match. So whether they do or not, we will have to wait and see. But I can only hope that that's what they do. So we will continue. More TW Wrestling Talk coming your way following this week's Monday Night Raw. So stay tuned for that next part of this week's edition of TW Wrestling Talk here on YouTube. Thanks for watching.